Hello and welcome back. As you all know, Amberlynn Reid went live in these two live streams here just a couple of days ago. In these lives, she appealed to the ultimate source of truth, her journal, and doubled down further on her allegations of DV against her ex Emily, and further lied about her cat Rarity by giving us a third Rarity going missing story. Amber claims she faced all different kinds of bad treatment by her ex Emily. If you want to see my critical analysis of the journal entries and all of that, you can go and watch this video here. In that video, I use Amber's own words and proof from her own YouTube channel to show once again that she is an absolute liar and that her storylines cannot be trusted and that she owes her audience better. I picked out lies and inconsistencies in those live streams using proof that we had all already seen. In this video, I'm going to use new, never before seen physical proof to strengthen the argument and give some context. I've said this before, but the reason that this matters and the reason that I keep doing it is because Amber has got on her public platform and lied about many people and displayed awful, abusive behaviour over and over and over again, and frankly, it just can't carry on. So that's why I'm making this. It's important, if her lies can be proven, that they should be. So that's what we're going to do. If you've seen those live streams, you'll know that Amber goes on to show texts on her phone. Amber uses these texts to try and prove that she is the victim of verbal abuse which she faced from her ex Emily, who she claims said awful things to her and hurt her and threatened her. Amber so strongly insisting that she was threatened by Emily is quite funny, because there's actually loads and loads of proof that she's the one who threatened Emily. You'll see more evidence of that in this video, and making threats is kind of what Amberlynn does, whether it's to her exes, her current partners, or reaction channels.
And Jordy's lucky that I'm a lazy fucking bitch, or his ass would have been sued forever ago. You're lucky I'm lazy, because honey, I got the money, I got the time, I got the lawyer, but I'm lazy.
As usual in this live stream, Amber ignores and skirts around what people actually care about, which is her cat Rarity, in favour of saying that Emily called her a cunt. You'll notice throughout this live that Amber neglects to properly address the far more serious allegations that she made of actual DV, and you'll notice her repeated lies about her Rarity story and the alleged animal abuse. She instead focuses on a woe is me narrative where her ex-girlfriend called her a cunt. You'll also notice that Amber neglects not only her pets, more evidence of which is shown in this video when her little dog Twinkie gets up on her lap and you can see Twinkie's claws. And they are literally grown round in a curve, and it's just like, oh my fucking god, Amber, walk your dog or give her away. Take her to the groomers. You cannot leave a dog like that. It is so cruel. But Amber also neglects to provide any context for the messages which she shows in this live stream. Instead, Amber claims that she is the innocent victim who was verbally attacked out of nowhere. She did nothing to provoke this treatment and is, of course, the ultimate victim.
Guys, y'all are always saying that we should always support the victim without proof, but when it comes to Amberlynn, all of y'all switch up like, bro, really, I'm team Amberlynn for real. Fucking thank you, Blossoms. Thank you. And that's exactly what I always say. It's always believe the victim, but never when it comes to me. I am the fucking victim in this. This time I am, you guys. I'm sorry to fucking break it to you. This time I fucking am.
Now note that in the clip you just heard, in saying that, she admits that she in fact was not the victim in her previous relationships. And this slip is in itself a massive win for Casey and Beck and Destiny and Crystal and maybe even Jade, all her exes who she is accused of abuse. And it's also worth saying here that in this live, Amber gets really angry and she hits down on the table as she's saying this.
I'm sorry to fucking break it to you.
Which would undoubtedly scare her pets, I think. And it really doesn't help the allegations that she gets physical when she's angry. She whacks the table. So Amber says this about one of the interactions that occur between herself and Emily in these text messages.
She just always like said the most foul things to me, just like out of nowhere.
Amber also claims that Emily would just randomly start doing low blows for absolutely no reason.
I was smiling, things were fine, I was super bubbly and engaging and laughing, and then she just kept doing low blows and low digs at me. I let it go at first, the first couple of times, but then it just bothered me. Oh, she randomly got rude out of nowhere, so obviously I started crying because it's like everything is just like built up. And then she started doing low blows. They literally always come out of nowhere. I have done nothing to her. She is lashing out of nowhere and being insane. I don't get it. Being so horrible to me for no reason. It honestly always comes out of nowhere.
Amber is trying to say that nothing is ever her fault Everybody else is lying, everybody else is not thinking or believing a false narrative or trying to hurt her or just enjoy her pain and make her lonely. She was called names, so whatever she did, of course, was completely not relevant. I think it's pretty evident now that I have been speaking to Emily again, and I have some very interesting things to show you in this video. It's important to state here, this video is not intended as a defense of Emily's character. This video is to show proof that Amberlynn has been telling lies about Emily on her public platform. In this video, I'm going to show you over 60 screenshots, which not only give the context which Amberlynn so conspicuously left out in her live stream, but this video will also serve as proof to Amber that no matter how many people she threatens with legal action, no matter how angry Amber gets, she cannot publicly lie about people, monetize that content, and then get away with it. The first thing I'm going to show you is this voice note from Emily. I was sent this way back when Emily and I first spoke. I asked Emily many questions. She described it as me putting my boot to her neck. But whilst I was doing this, one of the main things I wanted to know was about Rarity. That's what I was really interested in. And if you've seen this video that I made, in that video, I talk about how I had this theory that Emily couldn't have been the one to leave the back door open because Amber would have followed her out of the house, right? Those of you who've been keeping up with my takes on this situation will know that I was absolutely certain that Amber had followed Emily out of the house. And it turned out when I asked Emily, according to her, that was absolutely true. It's my opinion that Amber wants us all to completely ignore and forget what happened with Rarity and what she did to Emily, and the fact that she's lied about Emily kicking her and various other things because Emily called Amber some names. In this live stream here, Amber shows some little snips of text messages. She cherry picks which texts she wants to show. She searches by keyword, and she does this for 20 whole minutes, just searching through her phone and showing random messages where Emily did indeed call her a cunt. But as these two comments show, she neglects to include any context. This person says, how convenient you don't show the full context of the messages, just the mutual insults. Why does Amber just read some random text messages but gives us no context? How about she releases full conversations like M, then we would really call them receipts? Well, unlike Amber, Emily doesn't seem to be afraid to own the things that she said, and she has in fact sent me many varied messages which provide the much needed context, and I think you'll find them very illuminating. So Amber starts by reading out this message.
You wake me up out of dead sleep when I'm sick to being a fucking to me, which I wasn't, but there it is right there.
Now, when you look at this screen grab, you can see that it shows iMessage, and the iMessages are popping up with no context after being searched for by keyword. And if you look at this, you can see there's multiple different messages there from different people. Here is a screenshot from my own phone, which shows it a little bit better. So if you search for a certain word in iMessage or texts, it pulls up every time that word has been used. So Amber's obviously searched for the C word or whatever other word, and now she's just showing the individual messages where that word has been used. Any message taken out of context can sound super bad, and don't get me wrong, it is absolutely wrong to call your partner an evil cunt or a cunt or anything like that, but the context does matter, and in this situation, it really matters. So you can see in this screenshot, Emily writes, and this is the one Amber reads out, "You wake me up out of a dead sleep when I'm sick to be a fucking cunt to me." Now, Emily was kind enough to send me this conversation, and I think you'll find it quite interesting. It might seem a little bit random at first, but just let me cook because we're getting somewhere, I promise. So Emily and Amber are messaging each other on the 1st of March 2025. I don't know the exact context, but it looks like that Amber has discovered something that Emily has been saying about her online, and Emily definitely did do that. She went on Reddit in various places and said stuff about Amber. So the conversation starts with Emily saying, "I don't trust you, not one bit." Amber then says, "Everyone is right?" which makes it sound to me like Emily has said something like, "All the nasty stuff people say about you is right." And then Amber's gone, "Everyone is right?" That's how that reads to me. Now, this isn't a very nice thing for Emily to have said. If she did say something like that, you know, all the nasty things people say about you are true. That's not a very nice thing to say. But in the case of Amberlynn Reid, quite a lot of the things that people say about her are true. So I don't really know what to tell you about that one. Amber says, "I've never given you a reason not to trust me. You are ignoring all my pain just to validate your awful behaviour and it's not okay. And this is one of the central issues with Amberlynn Reid. She thinks that her pain is other people's problem. We've seen clips of her suggesting that the behaviour that she displays while she's in pain just doesn't matter.
I don't care what I did while hurting. I don't care. My pain turned me into a monster because of what you did.
She thinks that herself feeling pain is a green light to behave however she wants. She then says, I'm still going live tonight. I really hope we can fix this before I do. Now this, to me, kind of does sound like a threat. Amber's saying, I'm going live, so I hope you and me sort this out before I go live. And that makes me think, well, why? Is Amber threatening that something will happen in the live that will affect Emily? That kind of does sound like a threat. And Emily says, or what? Is that a threat? And Amber says, all I did was come to you with a concern. No, it's not a fucking threat, Emily. Oh my God, why are you so rude to me? And then you see, this is where we get this message from Emily, the one which Amber popped up on her search. It says, you wake me out of a dead sleep when I'm sick to be a fucking cunt to me. Now, you might be asking yourself, how can this even have happened? How did Amber wake Emily up when they weren't even in the same place? Well, the answer is, of course, FaceTime. It looks from these messages and other messages, which I'll go on to show later, like Emily and Amber would regularly be on FaceTime all the time, so often without saying anything to each other, and they would sometimes fall asleep while they were on FaceTime. Emily claims that Amber would insist on being on FaceTime with her all the time, and you don't have to take Emily's word for it, because if we pause these blue screenshots and pop over to the green screenshots, which will come into this video a little bit later, I will cover them in their entirety and show you the context and everything shortly, but I'm just going to pop over to them for a second to give you a little bit of FaceTime context. So if we look at screenshots green 17 and 18, I believe it is, which are from June 2025, so after the blue screenshots, after the May argument, you can see that it looks like Amber did insist on being on FaceTime all the time. These won't make a huge amount of sense at first, but we'll get there. It will all make sense. But you can see Amber says, we were on FaceTime for hours, not saying anything. I don't want to be with you anymore. You treat me badly. Emily says, because you insist on being on FaceTime when I need to get things done or take time for myself. Amber says, I never insist on being on FaceTime. Emily says, we also have nothing to talk about. You don't do anything ever. And Amber says, I let you do whatever you want. That's very interesting. I let you do whatever you want, suggesting that she feels she has the authority to allow her partner to do things or not do things, which is very interesting. Then Amber says, I always have something to talk about, you just don't listen. Emily says, complain about maybe. Amber says, and then I have to repeat myself over and over. And Emily says, because I have shit to do, Amberlynn. I don't sit around watching YouTube all day. I have responsibilities, pets that I actually take care of. That is a bit of a zing, and to be honest, very fucking true. And I will go on to show you all of those screenshots, but I've just put them there for a second to give you the idea and kind of show you that proof that Amber did insist on being on FaceTime with Emily all the time, which is why, with that context in mind, if we go back to the blue screenshots, this helps us understand why in this screenshot here, she might be annoyed with Amber. She might be annoyed historically, and quite a lot of this, which you'll realise, is a build-up of stuff that Amber has done over a long period, and Amber doesn't understand that just because something gets squashed or ignored once, it doesn't mean that it's actually over. People can hold on to feelings and things that have happened to them sometimes, and I think sometimes, often, that's valid. So when Emily says, you wake me up out of a dead sleep when I'm sick to be a fucking cunt to me, you know that she was on FaceTime when she didn't even really want to be, okay? That's relevant. Let's keep reading. Amber says, I didn't know you were sleeping. Telling you that I'm hurting because of something you said online isn't being a cunt. Now, I don't know what Emily said online. I know Emily did say harmful and upsetting things about Amber online. That doesn't mean that it's okay for Amber to do anything. She's still responsible for her actions, as everybody keeps on saying. And Emily says, you knew damn well that I was sleeping and you screamed my fucking name. Amber says, I thought your phone was on low like it was last night, which suggests that they regularly fall asleep on FaceTime. And this message from Emily makes it sound like Amber has shouted into her own phone so that the phone next to Emily, where she's sleeping, will make a loud noise and wake Emily up, and it sounds like that's why Emily's pissed off. Emily says Amber knew she was sleeping. Amber says that she didn't know. I don't know if she knew. She probably did, because if someone's asleep on FaceTime, you would know because the phone wouldn't be facing them, they wouldn't be speaking, I don't know. But this is an interesting message from Amber. I didn't know you were sleeping because you told me not to sleep on the phone. But I'm confused why they were even on the phone. If you're not speaking, hang up. I mean, I understand people sometimes just cohabit on, you know, on FaceTime and sit their person there to hang out with, sure. But it's very clear, and it becomes clearer later in other screenshots, that Emily doesn't want to be on FaceTime all the time. And you can see in the screenshots I slipped in, the green ones, that Emily says she's got stuff to do all day. She can't just sit around watching YouTube. And it sounds to me like she holds some serious resentment towards Amber, that she's constantly got to have her girlfriend on her fucking FaceTime. So I thought this was quite interesting. Amber may or may not have known that Emily was sleeping. I have no idea if she knew, if she didn't know, but what I can see is that it looks like Amber has yelled down the phone to wake Emily up. Emily is annoyed, and I think that that's fair. The fact that this is even possible, I think, is bullshit. Nobody should be forced to have somebody on FaceTime when they don't want to, and Amber has actually corroborated in one of her recent lives that she and Emily would be on FaceTime all the time, and she says something like, oh, at least now I don't have to be on FaceTime all the time.
I felt good because we didn't have to constantly be on FaceTime.
But it's clear from these messages, and messages which we'll get to in the future, that Amber is the one who insists on the two of them being on FaceTime, which makes fucking sense if we're honest, doesn't it? Now, the fact that Amber has shouted down the phone to wake Emily up because she's annoyed at her for saying something about her online is out of order. I also think that calling your partner a fucking cunt is out of order. I don't personally justify calling your partner a cunt in any situation. However, we'll go on to see, and you guys already know, because you know what kind of house guest Amber is, Emily was probably at her limit of putting up with Amber's shit. So I can kind of understand why she might have been annoyed with her, and I think you probably all can as well. And I don't know what Amber said. I don't know how she said it. It's possible she was really polite and kind and gently spoken. She may have said, oh, Emily dear, like, can I just run this thing by you? But I doubt it. We know Amber's a shouter. She gets loud. She said it herself.
I will say that I'm a yeller. I won't say anything like that, but I yell. Whatever point that I need to make, I go up like 5 octaves, if that makes sense. That's my downfall, I will say. I get loud. She would stonewall me so hard, which then would trigger me even harder, and I would flip 100%. Like I said, I go up octaves. I get loud. I cry a lot, and it's just how it would go.
And we know that she thinks her feelings are everybody else's problem, and we know about all of the abuse that she dishes out when she thinks that people don't care about how she feels, and she thinks that what she does when she's in pain doesn't matter. That clip that I just played, which you've seen a few times, really puts this message into perspective. If Amber has screamed at Emily down the phone to wake her up while she was asleep, then that does make Amber a little bit of a cunt, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, Emily then has this final line. She says, I should have never unblocked you when you had that fake health scare, when you had COVID and you were perfectly fucking fine. Now that message is very interesting. It confirms two things for us. It confirms that Emily thinks that whole COVID arc, I don't know if you guys remember that, there was a COVID arc on Amber's channel. It shows that theory that we've all had, that Amber has fake health scares to try and get her partners back or to get attention, it sounds like Emily thinks that too, which is very interesting. And it shows that they had broken up and Emily did have her blocked at one point, but that Amber somehow managed to draw her back in. And Emily claims Amber would draw her back in with claiming she was ill, going to the hospital like she did recently when Emily did her first video with me. But also, and this is very interesting, Emily claims that Amber would say that the pets were having problems, health issues and such, which would also draw Emily back in, which I also thought was very interesting. You'll see proof of Amber mentioning taking one of the pets to the vet in a little bit as well. So there you go. There is the context for that message where Emily says, you woke me up out of the dead of sleep to be a fucking cunt to me. So now you know what was going on there. Emily claims that Amber would never give her space and that she would get angry with her when she wanted space. I think this sounds very likely. There's a very long history of exes saying this about Amber, and I think if Amber tries to deny that, then it's definitely provable. So I'll just put that out there. But Emily also sent me this screenshot from October 19th, where I believe they're in Wisconsin together. Yeah, they definitely are. And Amber says, missing you, baby, but I want you to know that I'm fully aware you need to unwind sometimes. I'm learning, I really am. This is October 19th, okay? Now this is interesting. Emily says, okay, I was really sad you were so mad at me yesterday. I was just anxious about work and sometimes I need to zone out, you know? Amber says, I understand, baby, I'm sorry. So that's Amber apologising to Emily. Amber keeps saying in all her lives that she's forced to say sorry when she doesn't mean it. But it sounds to me like that is something she should say sorry for. You should not be making your partner feel like they cannot have any downtime, and that is definitely what Amber did to Emily. Amber claims she's learning. She definitely didn't learn. She carried on doing this to Emily the whole time she was in Wisconsin. And just like Emily says in the voice note that I've shown, and this is proof of it, this screenshot, Amber did not leave Emily alone. She wanted all of her time, all the time. There's also more proof of that coming in this video, but this just gives you an idea of the kind of shit that Emily was putting up with while she was with Amber. And people say, oh, they're as bad as each other. I don't think that that is true. I really don't. I've seen a lot of messages, I've seen a lot of stuff, and I haven't seen Emily do really anything to Amber apart from not fucking accept her bullshit, which Amber has then twisted to try and make it sound like it's Emily being abusive when it doesn't seem like it is. It seems like it's Emily saying, no, you can't fucking treat me like that, which is something that other exes didn't do to Amber, so she just got away with it. And like we all know, whenever Amber gets called out, she claims abuse and bad treatment. She said that Zachary Michael verbally abused her.
So I have received a lot of mixed feelings, and if you guys thought that I was not going to see the clip of someone actually like verbally abusing me, then y'all thought wrong. I did watch it.
She doesn't know what these words actually mean. You've all seen the classic Rain and Petals eavesdrop video. Amber will use any words she likes whenever she likes. She doesn't care what they mean. She just wants to be the victim. Amber is a fucking menace when it comes to bothering people with her emotions and her feelings and thinking that her feelings are somebody else's problem and not giving them any space and constantly calling and texting. Emily couldn't even have a cigarette without Amber giving her trouble. Amber is awful, okay? I promise you, she is awful. If I tried to pull up every single clip from Amber's live where she shows these messages and I try to give context for every single one of them, I would be here all night. But I am going to give a bit more context for a few more of these messages, and also the context I give for one or two of them will give you context for the entirety of the relationship, if that makes sense. I think it does anyway. So another place where I can do this is in this live. Amber reads out this message where Emily accuses Amber of cheating on her. Emily didn't bother sending me these screenshots because you can see the whole conversation. This is the one conversation where Amber actually holds the phone up and scrolls. So you can read the messages. You know what everybody says. This is the clip here.
This was June 28th, 2025. I know you're cheating on me, bitch. Like, just going crazy on me. Saying things like, how am I being awful by confronting on you and catching you in a lie? Sorry you got caught. Telling me that I am cheating on her. Even though I wasn't. And just hounding me for literally weeks.
You'll notice in this clip, Amber says this. She says, she always said the most foul things to me out of nowhere. Now this is really interesting to me. Amber shows the top of this message chain and she claims that this came from Emily out of nowhere, that Emily accused her of cheating with no basis in fact at all. I have to caveat this by saying this is Emily's version of events. She told me this is what happened. I think it could be true. I don't know. I'm not telling you it's a fact. I'm just giving you someone's side of the story. So Emily claims that she was suspicious and she was speaking with Danielle, who is somebody that Amber used to speak to, or well, she currently still speaks to as far as I understand it. Amber says that she spoke to Danielle and she found out that Amber had still been flirting with Danielle in the DMs. Apparently she blocked her on Facebook, which you can see in the screenshots that Amber shows, but the two had been flirting on Instagram. Amber had been sending Danielle voice notes. So according to Emily, she discovered this, and this is why she said what she said to Amber. It was not out of the blue at all. And I'll be honest, when I saw this message, you're cheating on me, bitch, it really raised my hackles. I was watching Amber's live and I was like, oh God, that is not good at all. I know that accusing your partner of cheating can be a massive part of abusing them. So whenever I hear someone accuse their partner of cheating, I'm a bit like, oh God, it's a tactic which can be used by manipulators. But according to Emily, she claims that she had cause for saying this. She claims that she saw proof that Amber was flirting with another person in her DMs. I don't know for 100% fact, because I haven't seen proof, if this is definitely true, but what I do know is that Amber gives absolutely no context. So Amber says she's a pure, sweet, innocent victim, and Emily, randomly out of nowhere, with no impetus at all, just suddenly starts accusing her of cheating. Now that's not very believable. Emily is the only person who's actually given us a version of events which could be true. I don't know. All I'm saying is, Amber, if that's not true, then tell us why that happened. I don't know what happened, but I know that this is the context that I've got, because Amber's given none. We can look at the text that Amber shares. So here's one here. You can see at the top, Emily has said, how do you not remember? Convenience. Now that's interesting. What's Emily asked. Amber hasn't shown that bit, right? But clearly Emily's asked Amber something and Amber's gone, I don't remember. Well, what doesn't she remember? Clearly, there's some question Emily wants answered, and Amber is alleging that she can't remember. We've seen Amber say she doesn't remember things when she doesn't want to take accountability in the past. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if Amber did fucking cheat on Emily, and that's why she's saying that she can't remember whatever this was. And then Amber goes all caps. Now later in some other screenshots, and I think some I've shown you already, when Amber is pushed and she's really angry, she rages back in all caps, and that's what she's done here. I told you I blocked her number and that's why she reached out to me on Instagram, even though we don't talk on there. Emily says, interesting, because I'm talking to her right now, which again corroborates Emily's story. Amber says, okay. Emily says, and you're not being honest with me. Amber says, yes, I am. Wow, you're going to believe Danielle over me. Ha 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 ha, dude, I'm done. Then Emily says, I just caught you lying with proof. And according to Emily, Danielle sent her proof. So it's not sounding like Emily is the crazy one. It's sounding like she's seen something and Amber is gaslighting her and saying that it doesn't exist. Emily says, I'm sure you're sick of being busted. Sorry, it's upsetting to you, ? Which is really funny because that is the perfect example of what Amber has done this whole time. She gets busted, she can't stand being accused of what she's done, and she gets angry and rages. Amber does, for once, show sufficient proof of the actual conversation here and gives a little bit more detail on the fact that she was accused of cheating. But when we delve in a little bit deeper, it sounds like there's more going on there than Amber admits to, and I just think that's interesting. By Amber's own definition, messaging another person is cheating. And you'll see, again, I keep saying this, but we'll get into it, Amber does say that messaging another person is harmful and upsetting to her in future messages, which you're going to see. So Amber considers texting cheating, and we know that she was extremely insecure about Emily cheating on her, more proof of which you'll see in a minute. Just going to have to trust me for now. So Emily says that by Amber's own standards, Amber did cheat on her, which is why she accuses her of cheating. Emily also told me a very interesting story about a friend of hers from Tennessee. First of all, listen to this clip here.
I went through her phone with her permission because I caught her talking to an ex. It was a girl that she said that she literally blocked. Turns out she didn't. Called some girl super cute and all this bullshit a night before we met in person, even though we were actually dating. She was messaging some weirdo on WhatsApp called Emma. Don't know fully what that was about. I still don't get it. And she's not honest about anything. She also messaged this girl that she hooked up with in Tennessee literally a week before we got together behind my back, and I ended up calling her and everything.
You'll notice, of course, in her live, Amber gives no context. She just says, I ended up calling her. Well, according to Emily, there was some, can't remember what it was now, some natural disaster of some sort in Tennessee. And so Emily texted this friend and was like, hope you're okay, hope your family are okay. The two of them had slept together in the past, so they had a history of having a relationship. Apparently, Amber saw this in Emily's phone, got really, really angry and called Emily's Tennessee friend and threatened her and said, do not ever speak to Emily again, and then blocked her on Emily's phone. This is hearsay, but it's kind of not, actually, because Amber said she spoke to her as well. So Emily's just providing the context of that conversation. I just thought I'd tell you that, but also notice as well, the Tennessee friend story in this video comes directly after the kicking thing. So everyone was laughing at Amber in the chat and saying, what the hell, it's been 10 minutes, why can't you talk about the kick? Amber gives that one little sentence where she describes the kick, and then she immediately thereafter starts talking about the Tennessee friend. Now, I think that this attempt to accuse Emily of cheating was a deflection to distract from the kick and the fact that it had been a very embarrassing 10 minutes for Amber there. So that's the cheating texts and the FaceTime sleeping texts and a little bit of the Rarity story covered, but it ain't over yet. Let's get now into some of these longer screenshot threads. Now these help a lot to give context and clear up more instances of Amber calling Emily an evil cunt. I mean, Emily calling Amber an evil cunt. Again, I am not excusing verbal abuse. If you're dating somebody who calls you a cunt, it's time to break up. So I've shown you a couple of screenshots earlier in these videos, the green ones, and those were to give you context about the FaceTime, but it's in this conversation in which we get the context for Emily calling Amber an evil cunt.
Do not talking to me ever again, you evil cunt. There it is right there.
So let's get into that. This conversation covers screenshots green 1 through 18. Emily claims that she and Amber were on the phone. Emily had worked a 70-hour work week and she just had the FaceTime there, but she was tired. She didn't have much to say. So they were just sitting on FaceTime and Emily was giving short answers. And then she had Amber on her ass constantly wanting to talk to her. So she claims that she was giving short answers because she was frankly just sick of Amber's shit. Let's have a flick through these screenshots now. So it's June the 10th. It's 4:52 p.m. Emily's got back from work and she's just hung up on Amber because she's sick of Amber shouting at her and being rude to her. She claims because she wasn't saying much, she wasn't being very communicative on FaceTime. The FaceTime call, which Amber is still insisting that they are constantly on. Emily says, not dealing with your rude ass today. Amber says, I wasn't rude at all. You weren't talking to me, so I was trying to make conversation. Emily says, rude AF actually. You weren't saying shit or trying to have a conversation either, then blame it on me. Fuck that. Amber says, I asked you like 10 questions, but you kept answering with one word and having an attitude. Finally, you asked how I slept. You'd rather scroll on your phone, so have fun with that. Have a good day, bye. Emily puts no open-ended questions, and the way you were asking them, you had an attitude in your voice. You've been miserable to be around and you're taking it out on me. You always do this and it always leads to a huge fight. Then you're good to be around for like 3 days and it slowly comes back to this. I'm over it. Now this is fascinating because this is exactly what Amber claims Emily would do. But here is Emily claiming that Amber does it, as in being nice for a little while and then going back to how they were before. If this is the case, it would not be the first instance of Amber claiming that somebody else is doing the thing that she herself is doing. Amber says, I've been miserable to be around. You literally just told me last night that my Zoloft is working. You can never make your mind up about your opinions on me. You think so much in black and white, Emily. Crazy. All I was doing was laying here tired, trying to have a conversation with you, but you were being rude. I didn't do shit and I'm not going to argue with you. You always get grumpy and I have to deal with it, but I'm not dealing with it. I'm done arguing and done responding. Emily puts, on top of all the other bullshit and backlash I get for being with you, then you're shitty to me on top of that. Yeah, not going to happen. Now these messages don't sound like Emily being that rude to Amber. What it sounds like to me is somebody who is sick of this person's shit. That's how that reads to me. And I understand being short, being snappy with somebody who constantly wants you on FaceTime. Like, can you imagine you get home from work and this person just wants you on FaceTime? That would be too much. It sounds like Emily's really sick of it and she's pushing back here. Amber says, I wasn't shitty at all. All you ever do is sit on your phone. It's like I don't even exist. Amber says, I wasn't grumpy until you started yelling at me for watching TikTok. Fuck you and your gaslighting, bro. So that's the clearest we see into what happened before. This is what Emily said to me, that Amber was mad at her for being on TikTok while they were on FaceTime. But here you can see Emily saying it to Amber as well. Amber says, I was asking how you slept, what you did today, and it was just like I was bothering you or something. Ha ha ha, I didn't yell at you, bye. I don't know. I don't know if she actually yelled for sure. Emily says she did. I don't know. Then Emily says, how are you not embarrassed that you treat people this way? Amber doesn't respond to that. Interesting. She says, bye, Emily. Says the person that ruins every relationship they're in by being selfish. Amber says, asking you questions to try and spark a conversation is selfish. Emily says, no, they're yelling at me for being on TikTok because I was just waking up. Don't gaslight. Now, I don't know who is for sure gaslighting who, but what I do know is in the other messages I've seen, Amber is the one with the arm marks. Amber is the one who gaslights Emily. So it's difficult for me to not look at these messages and think, somebody's gaslighting somebody. Who's it going to be? Probably the person who was gaslighting last time. Maybe not. I don't know. But again, Emily's very clear. Amber tries to twist it and says, what, asking you questions to spark a conversation is selfish? That's not what Emily's saying. And Emily doubles down. No, yelling at me for being on TikTok because I was just waking up. Don't gaslight. And Amber says, that's all you ever do. I'm not happy. We never connect anymore. But she's ignoring the point. Emily's trying to say, stop fucking shouting at me and starting on me. And Amber goes, I'm not happy. We never connect. What about the fact that you shouted at this person? And Emily shows an interesting insight into her mindset at the time. She says, I'm literally so over being treated like this and you saying stupid shit like you're innocent when you literally started the fight. Amber doesn't respond to that. She just says, we sit on FaceTime for hours and don't say a single word. There's more proof of the FaceTime stuff. And all I can say is, fuck that. Sitting on FaceTime with someone when you don't have anything to say sounds so weird and boring. And Emily says, okay, then find someone who does make you happy. Sorry, I have a job and a life and you sleep all damn day. Amber says, I wanted to buy that couple cards game so we can connect, but nope, you won't even do that with me. You having a job and my sleeping schedule has nothing to do with how we spend our time on FaceTime. Except that it kind of does, because if Emily's really tired and she's just worked a full shift and she's shattered and doesn't want to sit on FaceTime and try and pull up a conversation with you, you should respect that. People need their own time, but Amber doesn't know how to respect other people's privacy and time and space. She thinks that somebody wanting alone time is an insult to her. She thinks she is owed her partner's time. Insert the clip here of her saying she was controlling with Beck's time.
I'm not perfect. Beck wasn't perfect. Like, I was super controlling of their time, of like their energy. I always wanted them near me. Like, always. Like, it was crazy. I'm able to admit that, and I'm sorry for that, and that's wrong.
And how long ago was that? And here she is doing it again. Do we think she's learned her lesson? I think the fuck not. Amber's just playing the victim. You give your energy to everyone but me. We don't do dates. You won't even spend a penny on me. Nothing. Now this is where it takes a big turn. Amber says, you won't even spend a penny on me, okay? This is after the Billie Eilish trip. So just keep that in mind. Amber says, doesn't even feel like we're in a relationship anymore. We don't even converse. Bearing in mind, yeah, these are two adults. This is June of 2025. They haven't seen each other in over 3 months. I think the last time they saw each other was the January. That's like 4 or 5 months that they haven't actually even been in the same room. So Amber saying, I feel like we're not in a relationship. I mean, you are, but I don't know, how much of a relationship is it when all you do is fucking sit in silence on FaceTime and don't converse with each other, and the person only does it because you get angry with them if they don't call you. Emily says, because I'm in debt and broke because you gave me $10 so I could order pancakes one time means I need to spend money on you. If that's the case, I'll keep a running tab. So far, you're hundreds behind for the Billy tickets. Fuck you. Now, I do think it's a little bit weird here to throw a gift back in somebody's face, but I will say that it sounds like Emily's kind of justified in that. The previous messages, Amber said, you never spend a penny on me. And Emily's saying, well, I have some financial trouble and I actually did spend a lot of money on you when we went to see Billie Eilish. Remember that? Imagine spending hundreds of dollars on somebody, and not only that, but doing all kinds of other things like driving them across the country because they can't get home because they can't fly. And then that ungrateful piece of shit says you never do anything for me. I think that's crazy. I understand Emily saying fuck you here. I do. Amber says, when did you say no? You broke up with me when I sent you the link telling you I wanted to play it so we can reconnect. That's about the card game. I'm not sure what to say about that really. And Amber goes, $10? I can send you a screenshot of what I've sent you. You're so unappreciative. And Emily drags the message from previous, so the one where Amber says it doesn't even feel like we're in a relationship anymore, we don't converse. Emily drags that message and says, I literally worked 70 hours this week and now you're treating me like shit because of it. And Amber says, you spend money all the time. Stop gaslighting me. Emily says, if your ass didn't have a fucked up sleeping schedule, there would be less of a problem. And then Amber says, I'm treating you like this because you hung up on me yet again, all because I was trying to have a conversation with you. Now that, I think, is some grade A fucking gaslighting. Because if you actually look at that message as a whole, Amber admits that she's treating Emily badly. She says, I'm treating you like this because of what you did. But the thing that Emily did was hang up on Amber. If you don't want to talk to somebody, you're allowed to hang up on them. It's a little bit rude. You could ask to end the conversation. That's more polite. Although I imagine she probably said bye. I don't know if she just randomly hung up on her. But it's clear that Amber is like a middle schooler and she thinks that being hung up on or being called a name is the worst thing anybody could ever do to her. Apart from kicking her, of course, which she lies about easily. And then Amber says, because I was just trying to have a conversation with you. But Emily makes it very clear the problem isn't that she was trying to have a conversation with her, the problem was that she shouted at her down the phone. And Amber's very offended, of course, and she says, this has nothing to do with my sleep schedule. And Emily says, that's not gaslighting, and yes, I spend money to live. Emily never said she doesn't spend money, she just says she doesn't have money for bullshit. And then Emily says, you spend hundreds of dollars on Lego and bingo and stupid ugly crappy dolls, and you're gonna lecture me on buying scratcher tickets. Heaven forbid I do something for myself for once. Fuck you. It's kind of nice seeing Amber speak to somebody who doesn't just bow down and let her do whatever the fuck she wants. And people are saying they're as bad as each other and the abuse was both ways. This doesn't read like that. This reads like somebody is pushing back to Amber and won't let her carry out her bullshit, and Amber is then crying abuse. But I don't think That's what this is. And then Amber says, difference is I spend money on you. And then she sends screenshots of Venmo. Now, this is super interesting. If you look at these screenshots of the Venmo, if you zoom in, you can see that on Mother's Day, Amber sent Emily $100. So look at these Venmos. They're very, very interesting. There's a few things to pick up on here. So the first thing is Amber is saying, look how much money I've spent on you. If you add it up, it's $160 or something. However, if you look closely, 100 of that was sent for Mother's Day. And if you look again, you can see Emily sent that money back. So 100 goes out and Emily sends 100 back. Emily claims, and this is what she told me, that she sent Amber that money back because she knew that Amber was going to hold it over her head. And she says the reason she knew this was because on Mother's Day, Amber sent Emily this $100, and then Amber got angry with Emily because Emily didn't send her any money back, claiming that it was Mother's Day for Amber as well because she was a pet parent, and therefore Emily should have given Amber money too. And when Amber said this, Emily got really annoyed and was like, if you give me a gift, give it freely or don't give it at all. So she sent her the $100 back, which you can see in the screenshots. So these Venmos, which look like $160, are actually only $65 because 100 of it was a gift, which Amber was a dick about and Emily gave back. And if that is not a metaphor for what it's like to deal with Amberlynn Reid, I don't know what is. Amber says that was just in May. Emily says your sleeping schedule can be changed. You choose to sleep those hours. My job, however, cannot. Sorry, my job is more important than being on FaceTime. Sounds fair to me. Amber says, I asked you to send me a Lego that you won't do, and you said you don't have the money for it. Bullshit. I'm not going to wake up to just sit here while you're at work. Now that message is also extremely telling. Amber says, I'm not going to wake up just to sit here while you're at work. Now, Amber's at home, okay? She's not in Wisconsin. She's at home where her pets are, where her mum is, where she lives her normal life. This message reads to me like she thinks Emily is the only thing in her life. If Emily is at work, there is no point Amber waking up. You don't only wake up to talk to your partner. You should have a full life. You should take your dogs out. You should eat and cook and work or whatever. The fact that Amber would say this sentence shows the unhealthy way her mind works. She thinks her partner is her entire life. It's only worth waking up if Emily is going to talk to her. Very interesting. Amber says this has nothing to do with my sleeping schedule. Emily says, are you kidding right now? Don't ever send me a single cent ever again. Now that's her response to Amber sending the money, because she says this was just in May, and she sends her screenshots of the Venmo, which is crazy. I think that is her throwing money in Emily's face, and it wasn't even that much money, and 100 of it got sent back anyway. This is just crazy. Amber says, I'm showing that you're a liar and unappreciative. Emily says, a liar? Are you fucking kidding me? Go to hell. I don't think that Amber has shown Emily's a liar. Technically, yes, because Emily says that Amber only gave her $10 for the pancakes and it was actually $35. So I suppose if that makes Emily a liar, then okay. And then Emily says, and this is why this is relevant, because this is the message that Amber cherry-picked to read out on her live. Emily says, do not talk to me ever again, you evil cunt. So that is the context of why Emily said that. That's the conversation that got to this point. It was Amber being a dick about being on FaceTime and then being a dick about money and throwing money in Emily's face, etc. That's why Emily says that. Now, you shouldn't call your partner an evil cunt. I wouldn't ever call my partner an evil cunt, but I can see why Emily may have been pushed to be this angry with Amber. The way she behaves is insufferable. Amber says, you said I sent you $10, I'm proving I didn't. Emily says, I'm going to reaction channels then. Now that's a little bit of a threat. That is a threat, and that was in June. So not that far after this, she did go to Mr. Snowflake, and that is a threat. So it's true that Emily did threaten Amber. At some point, Amber threatened Emily with ruining her entire life. But they're both threatening each other. We can't hide from that, it's true. Amber says, okay. Emily says, you're calling me a liar. You are beyond a shitty person, the fakest bitch I've ever met. Amber says, you just lied. Emily says, no, I didn't. Technically, she did lie in a sense, because she said that it was $10 for the pancakes. Amber proved that it was $35. She's clearly lowballed what she said because she wants to make her point, which is that you've sent me basically no money. Why are you being a dick about it? Amber says, I called you a liar after you said fuck you over and over. Then you call me an evil cunt and a fake bitch. Like, are you joking me? Emily hasn't said fuck you over and over. She said it once, and that's because Amber threw her finances back in her face. Emily says, you are. Amber says, you'll never change. Emily says, literally and genuinely the fakest person I know. Amber says, what makes me fake? Emily says, everything you do has selfish motives behind it. Now that message is very interesting, as I keep saying, about lots of these, because that message shows that Venmo where Amber sent Emily that money and then Emily sent it back because Amber was a dick about the fact that Emily didn't give her any money on Mother's Day for being a pet parent. We all know how that turns out. Is it possible that Amber gave that money to Emily in order to get money back, which would be a selfish motive? And we've seen clips of Amber admitting that she uses money to control people, or she has done in the past.
I'm that type of person where you guys have even seen it. You guys have seen it. You guys have called me out on my shit. I buy love. And I have gotten so much better with that, especially because like the last like 6 years of my life, 7 years of my life, 8 years actually. What am I saying? Like the last like 8 years of my life, like I have bought people with money. I have bought love. I have bought friendships. I have bought laughter. I have bought time with people because of money. That's how it's always been.
So that makes it very interesting when Amber says, just because I'm a giving person doesn't make me selfish, what the fuck? Emily says, no wonder nobody, including your family, doesn't want to be around you. You are not a giving person. Amber says, yes, I am. Emily says, okay. Now that's not a nice thing to say to somebody. Telling someone, oh, your family doesn't want to be around you is not very nice. The reason Emily is saying that is because she is being subject to this shitty treatment. Emily says, lol, you're proving me right, actually, that any time you give me any money, you throw it back in my face months later. Now that is also very interesting because that is exactly what was said by Beck and Destiny. They both claimed that Amber absolutely throws money back in people's faces. There is proof that Amber uses gifts, birthday gifts, money to control people, to manipulate people, and to throw money back in their face. So how interesting. She goes, I've grown, I've changed, I'm so different. June was what, 3 months ago? And here she is doing it again. Amber says, because you're miserable, I only showed you that because you said I sent $10, which is true. Emily did say that Amber only sent $10, but she still seems like she is throwing the money in Emily's face. Sending somebody screenshots of the Venmo that you sent them is a bit weird, and saying it's not like she said, Emily, the $10 thing wasn't accurate, here is proof of the $35. She said, all this money I've sent you was just in May. So she's making a point of, I send you money and you don't send me money. So she is throwing it in Emily's face, I think. Amber says, we talk for hours and hours on the nights you work. Well, we're on FaceTime for hours, not saying anything. So more proof of the FaceTime. This is the one I've already shown you, I think. And Emily says, because you insist on being on FaceTime when I need to get things done or take time for myself. Amber claims that she never insists on being on FaceTime. I think that's probably not true. And then you've seen this one already, but Emily says, we have nothing to talk about. You don't do anything. And then she digs her out and says, I have responsibilities and pets I actually take care of. So yeah, that is the whole conversation and all of the context according to Emily, and with lots of proof as to why Emily called Amber an evil cunt. So Amber wouldn't give the context. That's the context for you. The sense I get here is that Emily was absolutely sick of Amber's shit, and Amber wants us all to think that she is the innocent victim who did nothing wrong, but we can see, when we look at the whole context of these conversations, that Amber is awful. And you look at Emily calling Amber a cunt, it's kind of the only thing she's done in the whole conversation. And I have to ask myself, this whole Amber and Emily were toxic for each other and were just as bad as each other, I don't know if that's true, because I don't see a lot of that. And when I ask Emily and I say to her, what about this? What about that? Can you send me proof of this? She's got no trouble doing it. She sends it. So that tells you a lot, I think. But like I keep saying as well, these accusations from Amber are just of words. And it's just accusations of Emily using words against Amber, which Amber doesn't like. But when you dig a little bit deeper and look into the context, it seems like it's Amber who was being a jerk the whole time. Weird that, because that's exactly what she did with every other ex-partner. And this is not the only case where this can be seen. We also have another example. So the next thing we're going to look at here is this portion of Amber's live where Amber is reading from the journal, and she reads this section which was allegedly written on December the 9th at 7:40 p.m.
Oh God, December 9th. This is very surface level, but I would never have remembered this if it wasn't for this journal entry. So December 9th, I'm back home, 7:40 p.m. Everything was fine. She texted me this morning and called me, flirted with me, was nice. Things were fine. But then she took a 3-hour nap, woke up to Jordy finding an old video of her, and she then attacked me like crazy. Broke up with me, everything. Was awful. Telling me to fuck off. Telling me the most awful things I've ever heard out of nowhere.
So you heard in that clip Amber claim that Emily went for her completely out of nowhere and that this Geordie situation was nothing to do with Amber and totally not her fault. So let's get into those screenshots now. So it's December 9th and it's the beginning of the day, 6:51am. And Amber has texted Emily to tell her there's something wrong with Wasabi and he's puking everywhere. Emily says, oh no, is he okay? No reply from Amber. She probably called Emily, I would imagine. Emily says, hey baby, did you sleep? Am I allowed to watch you without you here? So it sounds like she's being nice. I know people might say that sounds like, am I allowed to watch it? But that's like kind of normal, I think, anyway, in a relationship. If you're watching a show on Netflix together, you wouldn't watch it without the other person. It's like Netflix cheating. But then Amber puts this long message. I won't read the whole thing, but she just says that her bed is broken, basically, and that she's woken up in pain, super swollen, and that Wasabi's not doing very well. She's moaning about that. And then Emily says, how many times has he puked? How can a mattress bake, baby? I think you're just not used to your bed. Why are you swollen again? We can watch you if you want. I just ordered Arby's. Also, you see that message prior where Amber says to Emily that she thought they were going to watch you together on FaceTime. So there's more evidence of the FaceTime stuff, but that's, whatever. Then Amber says, 2 times from what I saw, but maybe more. That's the number of times Wasabi's been sick. I meant the bed frame thing might have broke because the mattress is like in it. It's hard to explain. I'm swollen because I've been eating a load of sodium and I've also been up walking more than what I did at your house. How did you sleep? So this is the day, by the way, this is really important, I forgot to say. This is the 9th of December. This is the day after Emily took Amber home. So Emily drove the whole way home, then she flew back, got home on the 8th, and this is the morning of the following day. Emily's really tired. She's just done this huge favour for Amber. So you can understand Emily might be feeling a bit sensitive, possibly. She's just done loads of travelling. And that's obviously why Amber's also talking about the bed, which is interesting because this might have been her first night sleeping in that bed again. That's why she mentions, I'm walking more here than I did at your house. And then Emily says, I didn't even know you had a bed frame. Interesting. Mattress on floor confirmed? Question mark. Amber says it might be a box spring. I don't know what she's talking about. Anyway, Emily says she slept okay, not great. Amber says, this is interesting, okay? Not that you need me to tell you that it's interesting. Amber says, I had a nightmare that you were hiding in the oven, texting other girls. What the fuck, LMAO? Emily says, how have you been walking more? The oven? What the fuck, babe, lol. Now, it's my theory that Amber didn't have this dream, and she said this because she wanted to start a conversation with Emily about the potential of Emily cheating. I think that Amber wanted Emily to be like, I would never do that, and stroke her ego or something. And then Amber says, because I have to do things around my apartment, take Twinkie out, go get Ubers, go smoke. Smoking confirmed again in June. Interesting. Go get packages, etc. Now, it's funny to me because when she was at Emily's house, didn't she have to let the dogs out? Emily claims that she never fucking did. So weird to me that all of a sudden she takes Twinkie out, but whatever. And then Emily says, maybe you have subconscious thoughts about wanting to put me in an oven, lol. And Amber replies, no, I'm worried about cheating and stuff. The oven is wild though, lol. And Emily says, you need to trust me. Now, I think that this is where this conversation takes a turn. So Amber claims in her video, the live that I showed, that she did absolutely nothing wrong and Emily just randomly turned on her, okay? But this is what actually happened. So Amber is making a comment that she's concerned about Emily cheating on her. And Emily says, in a way that I think is fair, you need to trust me. It's not fair. I'm always being accused of the worst when I'm not doing anything. Amber says, when's your food going to be there? Emily says, now. Amber says, you can watch the show without me. I don't feel like getting up and turning on my TV. I don't even think I'm signed into Netflix. So we know that Emily's food is about to come. Emily says, okay, ... Then Amber says, I'm calling. Why aren't you answering? And Emily says, I was getting my food. Now this here doesn't look like a lot, okay? Those little messages, I'm calling. Why aren't you answering? I was getting my food. Could be nothing, seems like nothing. But when you take into account the fact that Emily has done everything for Amber that she's done that day, or that, those few days, taken her home, flown back, paid for the whole thing, more on that later. And yes, that was me edging you on the financial stuff. But it's like more proof that despite Emily doing all of this for Amber, Amber just feels that she is entitled to every second of Emily's time. And you'll see more of that in a little bit in this thread. There's a lot of things in this thread that I said that would come through, and this is where they come through. The fact that Amber says, why aren't you answering? It's just weird to me. You aren't owed an answer, If someone is busy or doing something, I don't know, it's just weird to me. And Emily says, I was getting my food, which is fucking fine, right? You don't have to answer the phone the second the person calls. Then you see a message, I love you so much, I hate seeing you not feel good, please get some rest. And then Amber says, just was checking in because I saw you read my message, wasn't sure if you were awake or not, let me know how you're feeling when you wake up. Emily says, I'm half awake, but I don't think I'm getting up. Now, I don't know the dynamic. Seeing somebody read your message and wondering if they haven't replied, that might be normal for some people's relationships, I don't know. I personally could not stand this level of like managing my time. I'm fiercely independent and I would be like, fucking leave me alone, I'll call you when I want to speak to you. But that's just me. And then you see Amber say, are you going to sleep more? Emily says yes. Amber says, okay baby, I love you. Emily says, love you too. And then Amber says, you seem apathetic towards me. And Emily says, apathetic? Apathetic does a lot of work for the community by cutting down those bloody live streams. And I really think that this is, again, where it turns. So Amber's already had a little dig at Emily, saying she's worried about her cheating. Now she's having another dig. Emily's sending relatively short messages and having a sleep. Why is Amber suddenly claiming that she's being apathetic to her? She's shattered. She's travelled to Oklahoma and back for you. It's just weird. Amber shows her insecurity. Yes, like showing no feeling or interest in what I'm saying. I'm sorry if I'm bothering you. Emily says, I've been sleeping. I don't feel good. If someone's asleep, they can't text you back. That's not apathetic. They're just shattered. And then Emily says, and this is very telling, I've been feeling like you're fishing for another reason to be mad at me. Now that is interesting, and I agree. It seems like in these messages, Amber is almost pushing at Emily, saying, oh, I'm worried you're going to cheat on me. You seem apathetic. Emily's just tired. But Amber is so deeply insecure, she cannot allow for anything other than constant stroking of her ego, constantly telling her that everything's fine. And Emily says here that she's not been feeling good. And then suddenly Amber says, I'm not me either. I'm not feeling good. I wanted you to know. And then Amber says, I don't want to be mad at you. I just don't feel good at all. I feel like something is wrong inside of me. And then she tries to make out that it's something physical that's wrong with her. That's weird to me. How you feel, if you feel ill or not ill, doesn't have any bearing on how you speak to your partner. Amber says, with one of my organs or intestines. Emily says, you're fine. Give it time. If it doesn't get better, then go get it checked out. Then she says, yeah, I'll do that. I just wanted to talk a little bit before I went to bingo. Emily says, I'm just waking up now. Amber says, oh, okay. Have a good nap. And then this is where it really does turn. So Emily says, why didn't you tell me Geordie dug up an old YouTube video of me? And Amber says, wait, what? Emily says, you said you were watching him last night. Another mention of Geordie there. More proof that Amber was watching Geordie in June of this year. Amber says, I didn't watch the full stream. Is it on there? I had no idea about it. I'm going to go watch it now. Now that's really important. Amber is saying here she's going to go and watch this stream from Geordie, okay? Emily says, don't. You say, why maybe she means why do you always watch bad things about me, yet you fucking watch them, you live for this. So Emily here is angry with Amber because Amber was watching Geordie, and what was happening in that Geordie stream was something that Emily was uncomfortable with. I think it sounds like it was an old video of Emily's that somehow ended up in Geordie's stream. And Amber says, oh, I'm going to go and watch it. And by the way, I was watching Geordie last night. And Emily is mad. She's saying, why are you going to watch the reaction channels when you tell me not to watch them, right? So I think that's fair. She's annoyed with Amber for this double standard, that Amber watches Geordie, but she tells Emily not to watch reaction channels. And we know she got mad at Emily for watching Snowflake back when they had the big fight. And this is, I said it was June, it wasn't June, it was December, my bad. Amber says, I want to see an old video of you, not because of him, but I won't watch it. And then she says, I live for what? Emily says, just like you said in the car, you don't know why they don't hate me more, considering they think I'm an actual serial killer. Watch whatever the fuck you want to. I'm not going to control your life the way you do to me. So that is where I think we really start to get into conflict. So Amber would have us all think from that diary entry that nothing happened, nothing went wrong, it wasn't anything Amber did. Emily randomly got angry with her for no reason. But I think it's very clear here that what she's angry about is the fact that Amber wants to watch Geordie, but also she says, watch whatever the fuck you want to, I'm not going to control your every move like you do mine. And it sounds like That is what she's annoyed about. She's pissed off that Amber is trying to control everything she does. So although this fight is kind of being started by Emily, she's the one who has a problem, it's clear why. She feels her life is being controlled. And we've seen a lot of proof in this video and other videos that that is what Amber was like. She wouldn't let her have a smoke. She wouldn't leave her alone. She was so controlling. She was calling her friends and blocking them on Emily's phone. That is toxic behaviour, right? So you can't really blame Emily for saying something like this. Do whatever you want to do. I'm not going to try and control your life. So I don't think it's really out of nowhere, to be honest. And this is what Amber does. She ignores everything that she's ever done because nothing happened right now. Everything that ever happened is not relevant. And that's what Amber tries to do here as well. And she does the classic Amber thing. What is happening right now? You're being so rude to me for no reason, yet again, right before I see my mum. Emily says, I'm just over it, bro. But Amber's like, what is happening? You're being so rude to me. It's not rude for Emily to point out that Amber's been trying to control her life and she's sick of it. What that reads to me like is Amber can't fucking stand not having full control over her partner's life. Amber says, all I wanted to do was talk to you. You are mad at me because Geordie found an old video of you. What the fuck? Now this is where the gaslighting starts and this is where the bullshit starts, okay? Emily isn't really angry with Amber because Geordie found an old video of her. Emily is mad at Amber, from what I can tell, because Amber was watching reaction channels when she tells Emily not to, and because she's been trying to control her life for the past however many months. And you'll see more of that in a few screenshots. Amber, of course, as always, flies off the handle. What the fuck, in capital letters. Please answer the FaceTime. Why are you mad at me? I didn't do anything to you. And the fact that you're reading the Reddits and whatever when you told me that you wouldn't, instead of calling me because I wanted to talk to you before bingo, just goes to show you don't care about me or miss me at all. Now, Emily is trying to say to Amber, something you've done has pissed me off. You've watched a reaction channel when you tell me not to, plus you try and control my life. And Amber goes, oh, the fact that you've read Reddits when you told me you wouldn't and did that instead of calling me because I wanted to talk to you goes to show you don't care about me? No. This is just gaslighting from Amber, in my opinion. Amber says, I'm not going to let you ruin the time I get to spend with my mum. Emily says, I read a message about it. I wasn't reading the Reddits. Believe whatever you want. And again, Amber does this. She always does this. Let me see the message. She always wants to see the proof. Amber says, you said you wanted this relationship to work because you love me, and yet you're mad at me again for something I didn't even do. What Emily's actually mad at Amber for is trying to control her life and constantly being on her ass, which she does definitely do. But Amber is purposefully misunderstanding. She's staying confused on purpose so that she doesn't have to admit to what Emily is actually annoyed at her for, which is trying to control all of her time and tell her what she can and can't watch, and then be a hypocrite by watching that very same content herself. Emily says, I'm not showing you shit. This level of stalking is getting fucking creepy. No, I'm mad at you for the shit that you did do. Amber says, you want me to trust you, but yet you won't prove yourself to me. What did I do? Now that's interesting. You want me to trust you, yet you won't prove yourself to me. Emily doesn't need to prove anything. She's mad at Amber for watching Geordie and for controlling her life. There's no need for her to prove anything there. I suppose it's maybe Amber trying to say Emily needs to prove that she didn't find out about this on Reddit. But Emily can go on Reddit if she wants. Your partner should not be controlling your life to the point where they don't let you go on Reddit. If that's happening, that is a big red flag. Emily says, don't play innocent. You and I both know that's not fucking true. Amber says, what are you talking about? You're treating me awful, Emily. Now this is another example, right? You're treating me awful, Emily. Amber loves this. She's constantly saying Emily's treating her awfully. Emily replies, go talk more shit in your DMs. I mean, the fact that either of these two adults do this stuff is fucking mental to me. I would not stand this for 1 second. But this is where it starts to get very, very interesting. Amber is pissed. She says, what, in capital letters. Emily, quite iconically, and I think this might make the thumbnail, says, bye, Felicia. And then Amber says, what the fuck is happening? Answer or YouTube knows everything. I am not joking. Okay, that is another threat. What the fuck is happening? Answer or YouTube knows everything. I asked Emily, what is she on about when she's constantly threatening YouTube knows everything? What is she actually talking about? And Emily says that it's nothing. She doesn't even know. Amber just makes random baseless threats at telling YouTube everything. But Emily says, go for it. And Amber says, answer the FaceTime. What DMs are you talking about? I don't reply to anyone. So all Emily has said is, go talk more shit in your DMs. And that message has flicked Amber into full rage mode, capital letters, threatening, shouting, well, she's not really shouting, but you know if she was there in person, she would be shouting, and demanding that Emily answer the FaceTime. And you know she would have called her like a million times during this. And it's just so unhinged. She is obsessed with making Emily answer the phone when she doesn't want to speak to her. Emily says, "You just gave me more proof that you're blackmailing me. Joke's on you. You don't have anything on me except your delusional BPD thoughts that aren't even true." That's an interesting message. Emily's saying confidently in private messages that Amber doesn't have anything on her. And then Amber does the classic, the gaslighting. What is happening, Emily? We know what's happening. You've been talking shit in your DMs. And someone's told you, and you don't fucking like it. That's what's happening. And then Emily says, "I have a hell of a lot more on you than you do on me," which is true. And then Amber says, "I'm done replying to you. I'm going to let you calm down." Amber says to Emily she's going to let Emily calm down, when Amber is the one who is threatening her and texting her in all caps and calling her a million times. Crazy. Emily says, "Haha, maybe I'll just make a YouTube video now instead." And that is a threat, definitely. It sounds they're threatening each other a little bit here. That's the same threat that Amber made. Amber said, "Answer the phone or YouTube knows everything." Emily is saying, "I'll just make a YouTube video." Amber says, "Okay, I don't know what to do. I have no idea what's going on. Everything was fine, and then you find out about Geordie and go off on me. This isn't love. You told me you wanted this to work. You were so sweet all day." Emily says, "No, the way you treated me this entire fucking time wasn't love. You have never loved me. You're obsessed with me. There's a difference." Amber says, "So this was the plan?" This shows more insecurity, more shit from Amber. "So this was the plan? To break up with me once I was in Oklahoma after we had sex yesterday and you were so in love? I do love you. That is such a horrible thing to say to me." I don't know though. I think it might be true. I don't know if Amber knows what love is. I really don't think she does. But she seems to try and characterise it. "I would never have let you seen my whole body if I didn't love you. I would have never travelled to Wisconsin if I didn't love you. I wouldn't have written down all of your symptoms if I didn't love you. The list can go on and on." Emily says, "You would never have treated me the way you did if you loved me. Threatening to break Colleen's picture, that's lower than physically abusing me." So the threatening to break Colleen's picture happened on the night of the 17th of November. So this was a long time before. It's like 2 or 3 weeks before. So clearly whatever's pissing Emily off here is a culmination. She's saying, "You would never have treated me the way you did if you loved me." She's not talking about today. She's not talking about watching Geordie. She's talking about the whole thing. And Amber clearly doesn't love Emily. She's lied on YouTube about so many things, made so many comments about Emily and said all sorts of stuff that is not true at all, to the point where Emily has to come out with fucking 29 screenshots to prove that Amber's lying. That is not love, let me tell you. Also, on the breaking of Colleen's picture, that is something that is, I agree, completely over the line, and Amber doesn't deny it. She addresses it in one of her live streams. She sort of admits that it happened.
Then she grabbed a picture of me and Colleen and held it up and threatened to break it. She knew that is something that would hurt me more than anything she could do physically to me, like the lowest she could go. She let her apologize and then tried. Sorry, I'm getting text messages left and right. She let her apologize and then tried begging for me back, saying that it was her BPD. At first, she denied that she did any of those things, which that sucked too. I've never denied a single thing that I've actually done. I have denied the things that I have not done that you have lied about. I deny what the false shit is. And I tell the truth on what the real shit is. Now that's reality.
Amber says, "I can say the same to you, but we talked about this and rekindled, I thought. Was this the plan the whole time? I told you that you would go home and realise you didn't love me. I was right." And this is interesting, and this is where Amber starts going on about them rekindling. She says, "I thought we fixed it. I thought it was in the past." And she's angry with Emily for bringing up her past behaviour, which she thinks that she's been forgiven for. I can kind of understand the sentiment. If you've discussed something with your partner and you think it's done and dusted and sorted and then they bring it back up again, that might be a little bit annoying. But clearly your partner's not really over it. Clearly they didn't get closure. They didn't get understanding. I bet Amber never took accountability for what she did. So I sort of understand. I mean, I got this message actually from someone. I won't tell you who it was, but they said this with relation to Emily's mindset at this time, right? This person says, "Imagine this person squatted in your house, made your life hell, abused you physically, ruined your home, which is true, and the flooring, stunk, and then you had to pretend everything was fine so she would let you drive her 14 hours back to her apartment. Then, when you get home, she's immediately back on your case accusing you of texting other girls in her dreams. That is what Emily is dealing with here, okay? You can understand why Emily wouldn't be over it. We know Amber never takes accountability. I understand Emily being like, you know what, actually, I'm not fucking over the shit you've done to me. Just because they rekindled and had a cuddle doesn't mean Emily should be over it. Emily says, because I was looking at other girls and that was what you considered was cheating on you. Amber says, I told you time and time again how that would make me feel and you still did it. You betrayed me. Why are you doing this to us? This shows, again, like I mentioned earlier, Amber thinks looking at other people is cheating. If looking at other people is cheating, then you can't go on Instagram without cheating in Amber's fucked up mind. But anyway, if that's an agreement they have in their relationship that they're going to try to never look at photos of other people, then cool. You have your own agreements within your relationship, but it sounds to me like Amber has been very controlling with this. And Emily mentions again the Colleen thing. She's clearly not over it. She's angry with Amber that she picked up Colleen's picture and threatened to break it, and she clearly hasn't let that go. Emily says, I told you time and time again, Colleen was the one thing that was off limits, even in fights, and you not only brought her up, but threatened to break her picture. And Amber, who's been told directly, this is what you did to hurt me, instead of responding to that and apologising, because sometimes you do something wrong, the person is hurt, you apologise, and then they come back to you and say, actually, I'm still hurt. You apologise again. If you mean that sorry, then you're willing to repeat it, because you know what you did hurt that person. Instead of being mature and saying, yeah, I know I already apologised, but listen, I really was sorry and I am sorry again. No chance. Amber goes, all caps, why are you doing this, Emily? And then says, these are things we have already talked about and I've already apologised for. But if you've apologised, just apologise again. If you were sorry then, you'd still be sorry now. Amber doesn't care about what she did. She just wants affection from Emily. Everybody else's feelings mean nothing. The only person whose feelings matter are Amberlynn Reid's feelings. And it is so clear throughout this text exchange and just generally. She only cares about herself. Emily says, why did you do what you did? You literally just threatened me again to go to YouTube and ruin my life if I don't answer the phone. And as we've seen, it's not the first time that Amber has threatened to ruin Emily's life. And then, when this all came out, she tried. She went live and accused Emily of DV. She went live and accused Emily of letting her cat out. She lied on both instances, which has been very obvious. So she's followed through with this threat. She has tried to ruin Emily's life. And I know for a fact in the past, she's threatened to call Emily's job and try and get her fired. And you can't make threats to make people answer the phone. If they don't want to talk to you, they don't bloody have to. Amber ignores that. She ignores the fact that she threatened Emily to try and manipulate her into answering the phone. And she says, my mum's going to be here in 10 minutes, can you please answer the FaceTime? All she cares about, all she wants, her only priority is Emily answers the phone. I get Emily on the phone. That's all she cares about. Emily says that's fucking unhinged. I'm not dealing with someone that is treating me that way. Fair. Remember, this conversation is happening on the day that Emily got home after driving Amber all the way fucking back to Oklahoma. You can see why she'd be a bit bloody annoyed. Amber says, I said I was going to tell them why I'm really in Oklahoma, not anything bad about you. Now that's a very interesting message because that's not what Amber said. Amber said, call me or answer the phone or YouTube knows everything. That's a threat. It doesn't sound like the reason she's in Oklahoma is the real thing she was trying to threaten there. And I don't know the real reason she came back to Oklahoma. As I understand it, the real reason she came back to Oklahoma is because Emily kicked her out because she's an abusive piece of shit. Emily says, you're toxic, which I think is absolutely true. And Amber says, you're toxic. Look at what you're saying to me, all because of Geordie. I didn't do anything to you. And that is so crazy. It's Amber just doing it on purpose, staying confused on purpose. This is not because of Geordie. Emily's problem here is not Geordie. Emily's problem here is Amber, the way Amber has treated her. And Amber loves that she can just blame it on something else and gaslight and slip and slide and go, oh, it's not me you're annoyed at, it's Geordie. No, that's not what this is about. Emily says, no, you've said you're out to ruin my life, including calling my job, which Amber has said, and we saw her say it on the 17th. Amber ignores that fair criticism and says, we literally rekindled and everything was so good and now you're back to attacking me out of nowhere. She's such a fucking victim. Saying Emily is attacking her out of nowhere is not a fair characterization of what is happening. Emily is expressing her anger and frustration. And then Amber says, I'm not going to do that, referring to calling Emily's job. Emily says, no, this is because you just threatened me again. Amber says, read what you said to me. Emily says, not because of Geordie. And Amber is desperate to be the victim. She says, you attacked me out of nowhere before I mentioned the YouTube video. That's not true. If we go back to the YouTube video, Emily did not attack Amber out of nowhere. In fact, Amber is the one who accused Emily of being apathetic in this screenshot. It's becoming tiring, to be honest, because Amber is just an absolute fucking scumbag. She sends all of these messages here. I'm not going to bother digging into all of them, but you can have a look through them. It's just basically Amber saying she doesn't have anyone and she only wants Emily. Clearly she doesn't have anyone because she's absolutely desperate to have Emily on the phone 24/7. And then Emily says, you'd think you would treat me better. No, if you love me like you say you do, you'd think you would treat me better. Amber says, why are you doing this now after we said we're going to start over? You told me that you're going to be better for me. Emily says, because you chose to threaten me again. Emily says, read the messages. Look how you were treating me before that. You were attacking me and freaking out of nowhere. Now, Emily wasn't attacking Amber, and I don't think she was freaking out. She was just telling Amber that she was mad at her for trying to control her life, and I think that's fucking fair. Emily says, look how you've been treating me since I've been home. Amber says, I've been making sure you were okay constantly and you calmed me down last night and everything was fine after that. We even woke up and talked on FaceTime and everything was so sweet. So Amber's trying to say, we sorted it out. You should be fine. I've already said sorry. We've already fixed it. Just forget about this. What are you annoyed for? And Emily says again, no. You've been trying to control my every move. You don't give a fuck if I'm okay or not. Amber says, I even showed you my body. Like, what is going on? What are you talking about? Amber says, I haven't tried to control anything. And Emily says, you called and bitched because I was in the driveway for 10 minutes before I called you. Amber says, I am the one who hung up the FaceTime call. I thought we already talked about this. Emily, what the fuck is going on? Emily says that your behaviour is insane. Now, it seems clear to me here that Amber can't understand that just because something got talked about once doesn't necessarily mean it's over. Somebody is allowed to get upset again about something that's already been discussed. But Amber just says, I thought we already talked about this. She so desperately wants Emily to just be like, oh, don't worry, and just drop it. Her point is, well, I've already said sorry, so you should have got over it by now, which is out of the narcissist's playbook. Not caring about how other people feel and not being willing to apologise is exactly Amber's MO. Amber says, it sounds to me that you already had someone on the back burner and the plan was to break up with me. Cool, thanks. I fell for your bullshit yet again. I truly thought we were doing so good. That is just so insecure from Amber. She will never accept that something is her fucking fault. She's the one who's been trying to control Emily and constantly be on the phone and tell her what to do. And now she's saying, oh, it can't be me. It must be that you planned this and you've got someone else. It must be that. Emily says, you wish, because then you could blame me leaving you on that instead of it being because you were an awful human being. And that, I think, is Emily's whole argument in a nutshell. Amber treated her like shit, which she did. She let her dogs piss all over her floor. She grabbed her, dug her nails into her. She gaslit her. Amber says, wow, I'm an awful human being, but you just got done telling me how much you love me, how badly you want this to work, how you wish I was there in Wisconsin with you. You either love me or you don't, but with the way you are speaking to me right now, it's proving you don't love me at all. You can love somebody and still hold them accountable for the shitty ways they treated you. And then Amber says, you have completely gone cold, and it is ever since you saw that Geordie found an old video of you. Everything with me and you was fine. We forgave each other for everything, rekindled our love, had such an amazing time yesterday, and now you are back to treating me horribly out of nowhere. Now, this is what Amber said in that video, in the live. She claims this is out of nowhere. I disagree. I don't think this is out of nowhere. This is Amber not realising that her pattern of behaviour over months towards Emily has actually had a toll on Emily, and she doesn't want to put up with it. And Emily says, you were mean to me on and off all day yesterday, even before I left. Amber says, what are you talking about? We had such a fucking amazing time. I literally cannot believe you're doing this to me. This is insane behaviour. For what? You can see that Amber almost believes. I think Amber believes her own gaslighting. She won't admit what she's done is wrong to Emily. She's convincing herself that she is being treated badly here, when actually all Emily is doing, in my opinion, is expressing that she's angry with Amber for her behaviour. This is the last two now. Emily says, you were bitching at me in the car about having my window rolled down. Amber says, I wasn't bitching. Emily says, nice try to reverse the narrative. Amber says, wow. Emily says, you're mean. Amber says, okay. Emily says, and selfish. Amber says, and you aren't? You're breaking my heart right now. You really fooled me. And then Emily says, you didn't care that I drove you across the country and flew back in less than 48 hours. You cared that I didn't call you within 10 minutes of getting home. I'm not being in a relationship like that. It's not normal. For your own sake, get some therapy or you'll never be happy. Now, I think this is the last screenshot of this conversation, that chunk there shows this is what Emily is actually annoyed about. And she said it at the start. She said, you're trying to control my life. You watch Geordie and then you get mad at me if I watch Geordie. I think Geordie's going to find it very funny that he was the centre of this argument. The point is not about Geordie. The point is that Amber tries to control Emily's life. And Emily is sick of it. And that's exactly what she says right here. And then the absolute fucking truth bomb, which is, for your own sake, get some therapy or you'll never be happy. Which I think is absolutely bloody true. So when Amber mentions this situation in her live stream, as she, as you've seen, she says, literally out of nowhere she goes for me, but she ignores the very relevant context that she's been a dick to Emily that day. And I think that is exactly what she did for all of these messages. She read out a message where Emily calls her a cunt, gives no context, and then uses that as her defence. But even if Emily did call you a cunt, which she did, it sounds like you might have been behaving like one. So there are two final accusations that were made by Amber, or have been made by Amber over this period of time, which we're going to get into. I've got a couple of bits and bobs to show you, so we'll get through those quickly. Amber says that Emily was constantly asking her for pictures and that she had to keep sending her nudes and all of that. Here are some examples of Amber talking about it.
No, I didn't go back to her. We have only been friends. She has been wanting to see my belly. She wants actual photos. She's wanted to do FaceTime sex, and I keep telling her, no, I'm not in it. I don't want that anymore. Like, all asking me for sexual photos. She's literally talking to reaction channels. And she would ask for like the sexy photos. She would ask for, let's have FaceTime sex, and I would usually tell her no. Like, genuinely. Like, how are you gonna sit there and ask me for fucking sexy photos of my body, all while talking to reaction channels? It's not normal.
You'll notice here that Amber is pretty dead set on convincing us all that Emily wanted photos from her. I think she does this so that she doesn't have to address the real issues and the fact that she lied about being kicked multiple times and lied about her cat and all of that. Amber isn't bothered about any of that. She's bothered about being asked for nudes from the person who is with her because they like her body. Okay, make it make sense. I don't think that asking somebody for photos is in the same stratosphere as going on a live and accusing them of actual crimes with no proof, and then crashing out like a toddler and threatening to sue people when they show proof that you're lying. But I digress. When I asked Emily about this, Emily had something very interesting to say. Now here's the whole conversation. So I received this message. Here's the message here. So I got that and I was like, interesting. So I sent that to Emily and asked her if she wanted to say anything, if she had any thoughts about it. And this is Emily's response, and I have consent to share this, which you can see in the screenshot. Emily says, Jesus Christ, she would send them unsolicited to get my attention, and she was never nude, lol. She's self-conscious about her excoriation. It was over Snapchat, nothing was saved. So Emily's saying she can't prove that they weren't completely, naked because they weren't saved. And I say, may I share that? Emily says yes. And she never really sent nudes. She was fully clothed. She would send sexy snaps similar to her TikTok thirst traps, but nothing as of recent. For her to insinuate that is insane. And I say, yikes. So she didn't ever even send full-on nudes. And Emily says, never. She was always wearing underwear and a bra, and she sent maybe less than 5 of those the entire time I've known her. And I say, why am I not surprised? And what I mean is, why am I not surprised that Amber's lying again? So there is Emily giving her response to that. Obviously it's not proof, it's just Emily's side of the story. Then again, you can't really prove something like that. Amber could probably prove that Emily had asked for the photos if she wanted to, but Amber never proves anything, because it usually always turns out that she's the one who's lying, which is kind of weird. Anyway, the final thing I wanted to leave with you was the fact that Emily was keen to respond to the allegations from Amber that Emily is the reason that Amber came off the GLP-1s that she had been on at the time. So while she was with Emily, I believe Amber was on GLP-1s twice, and there have been a lot of claims that Emily is the reason that Amber came off the GLP-1s. Amber has kind of added fuel to this fire by making comments about her not losing weight because of Emily. She said things like this.
Can you imagine saying, I want to order a 20-piece nugget, and your partner saying, How about 40?
She'd probably want me to eat like cheeseburgers and like a bunch of chicken nuggets and stuff from McDonald's.
Amber seems really, really keen to remind us that apparently Emily is the reason that Amber didn't lose any weight. She said this on her live stream.
Damn, I look fat. I can lose weight now. I'm gonna go on a diet. What do you guys think?
Well, it doesn't really seem like this is true. It seems like Emily was supportive of Amber being on GLP-1s. So I'm going to show you some of that evidence now. Now, I know this isn't what anybody wants to see or expected to see or thought was going to come up, but I think it's only fair that I show proof that I have. So I've got a lot of screenshots that show that Emily was actually supportive of Amber being on a GLP-1 and didn't try to stop her. So the first screenshots I'm going to show you that relate to that are these ones. So we've got read 1 through 4. This first one, I believe, happened prior to the next 3. So they're numbered 1 through 4, but they didn't happen in order. This one happened, and then later the next 3 happened, I think. But you can see this conversation. Now, this conversation is very interesting. I think this is near the beginning of their relationship when this first all came out. And Amber says, I can't even imagine how you can feel right now. I wish I could hold you. Emily says, everyone is calling me a monster. Amber says, you're the opposite of that. They don't know you. I do. Emily says, saying I'm a serial killer and that I killed Colleen and that I'll kill you. You know that if you don't lose weight now, they'll blame me. And Amber says, you didn't kill anyone. They're idiots. They say the same thing about my mum when she takes me out to a restaurant. They're dumb. And then this part, crucially, I've never been able to lose weight, babe. Let's be so for real. So where Amber's gone on her live and tried to make out that she hasn't lost weight because of Emily, she admits herself that she hasn't ever been able to lose weight on her own. But that's not all. Here's a conversation where they're talking and Amber is currently on a GLP-1. And Amber says, I don't feel sick at all. I don't even feel like I'm on semaglutide today. Yesterday was rough though. I felt super sick. My pre-filled syringes have been in the refrigerator for over a month, so maybe it's getting diluted because of that. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, LMAO. Diluted might not be the right word I was looking for. Emily says, less effective maybe. I don't know. As long as they're in the fridge, I doubt they expire. But your hormones and stuff in your body at the time you take them does affect how they're absorbed, I'm sure. Amber says, I might need to go buy a new vial then because I need this semaglutide to work. I literally suck at losing weight without it. There's Amber being quite honest that she wants to lose weight. You can see Emily says, I think it should be fine. I think you don't need a new vial. Is this the one from the new company? Amber says, no, it's from the med spa that I saw 6 weeks ago. I think I have like 2 or 3 more weeks left. Emily says, maybe you just need the dose to get higher. So she's saying this might help Amber, the dose increasing. Interesting. Amber says, that's what I did 2 days ago, I increased the dose. Emily says, I don't know then. Amber says, it's okay, I'll figure it out. Are you going to go get your food yet? And then Emily says, I think you'll have good days and bad days just like anything else. Just got to stick it out. You've got this, babe. And Amber hearts the message and says, thank you. Now that's a strange message for somebody to send who wants you to come off a GLP-1. If Emily wanted Amber to stop taking a GLP-1, I don't think that that is what she would say. She's saying, stick it out. You've got this, babe. You'll have good days and bad days. I don't know what you guys are going to make of that, but I thought that was interesting at least. Then we have this one. When is this one from? September the 3rd, 2024. So this is quite early in their relationship. I believe it's before Amber's gone to Wisconsin. They're chatting and Amber says, I want to go on a weight loss thing, especially because I don't want YouTube thinking I'm giving up at life because I'm not. I'm trying to decide if I want to just count calories or try Weight Watchers or something. Both of those options, I can still eat whatever I want, just not as much as I have been. And Emily says, I'll support you in whatever you decide to do. Then we have these ones. Now, these are from a lot later. So they had that conversation I've just shown in September of 2024. Now, this is from about 7 or 8 months later, 5th of May, 2025. And if we go back, Amber was making videos at the time about how she wanted to go back on a GLP-1, and then she claimed that she couldn't because of gallbladder issues. And people said that she was lying about that and that she didn't go back on it because of Emily. But have a look at these messages. I thought these were very interesting. So you can see Amber says, by the way, I'm so sad. I was denied a weight loss injection because of my gallbladder issues. Then Amber sends these screenshots, which basically show that she has been denied. In the video she made, she says she was going to show these screenshots, but then she ends up not showing them. And you see Amber mention that here. Emily says, they said you can do it, but it just has to be managed with an in-person doctor. So you can go find a local clinic. And Amber is the one who is giving excuses. She says, yeah, but my mum won't take me, and if she does, I'll feel like a burden. Maybe that's because you are a burden. And Emily replies, it won't be all the time though, just a few appointments. Which sounds to me like she's encouraging Amber. That sounds like she's saying, that's okay, it's only going to be sometimes, you can still do it, which is interesting. And then Amber says, it just sucks, I'm literally shocked, to be honest. And then May 19th, this is a little bit later, Emily says, you called. Amber says, yeah. Emily says 4. Amber says, I don't know. Emily says, how was your appointment? How is Twinkie? So the appointment she's talking about here is the GLP-1 appointment. So Amber was denied the med spa one because of her gallbladder, so she made an appointment with her doctor. This is when she was talking about how she wanted to go on Zepbound. And that is what Emily is asking about. So she's showing an interest in that appointment and asking how it went. There's also some commentary here about Twinkie, which is interesting because once again, when Emily doesn't really want to speak to Amber, she mentions a pet health scare. And it looks like these messages, you called? Yeah. 4? That's quite short, right? So that makes it seem like they weren't really talking. So I wonder if that mention of Twinkie's appointment or having something wrong with her leg might be another sign that Amber did use her pets not being well to get Emily to message her back. We don't have time to delve into all of that, but you see Emily say, what about your appointment? Did they prescribe the GLP-1? Amber says, yeah, I'm not taking it. Emily says, why? Amber says, too expensive. Emily says, oh, did everything else turn out okay? Your labs? And Amber says, I don't have my results yet. I broke down about my mental health and he genuinely seemed worried, put me on Zoloft. Emily says that might help. So that's interesting. It just shows that Emily showed an interest, at least, in Amber's GLP-1 experience and also her health in general because she's asking about her labs and she wants to know if she's okay, which I thought was interesting. So that was in May when Amber got back home from being in Wisconsin. Now I've got some messages here from when they were in Wisconsin. This is December the 2nd, so it's after the huge fight, which was the 17th of November, so it's about 2 weeks later. Emily messages Amber and Emily says, my self-esteem is in the dumps. I hate my body right now. So Emily's expressing some sadness and frustration about her own physical state. And Amber says, I'm sorry, that's an awful feeling. I know exactly how you feel. I feel monstrous and hideous. I wish you could see yourself through my eyes. Your body is so perfect to me. It's interesting to me here that Emily doesn't reply and say, your body's lovely too, babe. I love your body how it is. Instead, she says, I want to get back into better shape. Have you weighed yourself recently? So she started the conversation about health and fitness and the fact that she wants to get healthy. And then she's asking Amber, how about you? Have you weighed yourself? And Amber says, no, I have not. I will when I get back home. Emily says, why not your scale here? Amber says, I mean, I can. I will next time I'm downstairs in my bathroom. And then she says, I kind of wanted to get Buffalo Wild Wings for dinner. We can lose weight once I'm back in Oklahoma. LMAO. Sorry, I'm so high right now. So this is interesting because there's a part in one of Amber's lives, and I struggle to find it. Hopefully I can find it in the edit, where Amber says that Emily woke her up with wings because she just wanted to make Amber fatter. But here we can see that Emily is talking about weighing themselves and weight loss and healthiness, and Amber is the one who says, we can lose weight later, let's get Buffalo Wild Wings. I just thought that that was interesting. So I'll leave all of that with you. You guys can think and talk and about all of that, but I just wanted to put it out there. Okay, that was a long video, lots of evidence, lots of things to muddle through. I'm not going to drop any more huge receipt videos like this for a while now. I'm just going to process and analyse and focus on all the stuff that we've had so far. All Amber has managed to do is prove that she is a liar. She's proved that Emily called her a C word, but Emily's given the context on that, and I think that that context has been quite telling. Amber shows no proof, and the proof that she does show works against her in many ways. And I think that Amber is a fucking toddler. She's got an obsession with name calling. She had the same thing with Aunt Tammy. She says to Aunt Tammy, can you not call me names, please? And as I always say, if Amber brings any kind of proof, any kind of evidence, I will always look at it because that is what I like to try and base my opinions on. As ever, I absolutely can't wait to read you guys' analysis and your thoughts in the comments. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you again for your time and your support of my channel. I hit 60,000 subscribers. Oh fuck yeah, brilliant stuff. Okay, thanks all for your time and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.